The world is holding its breath. The story that has inspired millions is about to reach its most powerful moment. The Chosen Season 6 is not just another chapter. It is the turning point, the end of a journey and the beginning of something eternal. From the very beginning, The Chosen has shown us Jesus, not only as a figure of history, but as a man who walked with friends, laughed with children, and spoke words that touched hearts in every corner of the land. For 5 seasons we have followed his journey. We saw him call ordinary men to follow him, fishermen, tax collectors, zealots, and seekers who became his disciples. We saw miracles that left crowds speechless and leaders threatened. We saw the sick healed, the blind given sight, and the broken given hope. But with every miracle, with every act of mercy, the shadow of opposition grew darker. The world around him was not ready for the kind of love he carried. As Season 6 begins, that shadow now looms larger than ever before. The days of celebration are fading. The disciples can feel it in the air. They know something is changing, though they cannot yet see the full picture. They remember the crowds that cheered his name, but now whispers of betrayal move silently through the streets. The leaders grow restless, their anger burning hotter each time his words challenge their power. And even within his own circle, cracks begin to show. The weight of what is coming is too heavy for all of them to carry. Yet Jesus walks with a calm that confuses everyone around him. This is not just the story of a man heading toward his end. It is the story of a teacher preparing his friends for a moment that will change history forever. The nights become colder. The roads to Jerusalem seem longer. The tension is not spoken, but it can be felt in every step they take. Each moment carries an echo of what is to come. Every word he speaks feels like a final lesson. Season 6 captures this rising storm with a power unlike anything we have seen before. And as the camera moves through the scenes of a world about to break, we are left holding our breath. Because we know where this road leads, and we know it will not end in comfort. It will end at the cross. The journey to Jerusalem is more than a path of stone and dust. It is the road where prophecy and destiny meet. Every step feels heavier than the last, not because of the miles, but because of the weight of what awaits at the end. The disciples walk behind their teacher, watching him closely, searching for signs that will explain what he already knows. His face carries both peace and sorrow. It is the expression of someone who sees the cross before it stands. The city in the distance is alive with noise and celebration. Pilgrims arrive from every direction, their voices filling the air with songs of tradition and prayers of hope. Yet beneath the joy there is a hidden current of unrest. Leaders whisper behind closed doors. Soldiers stand watch with sharper eyes. Something is building in Jerusalem, something the disciples cannot name. But Jesus walks toward it with steady feet. Each encounter along the way is marked with a sense of finality. When he heals now, it feels like the last healing. When he speaks, every word feels carved into eternity. When he embraces a child, the moment carries a sweetness mixed with quiet sorrow. The disciples notice it. They whisper to each other when he cannot hear. Some wonder if the movement will end soon. Others cling to the hope that he will rise in power, overthrow Rome, and rule as a king. Their hearts wrestle with expectations, while Jesus prepares them for something far greater than power, something far deeper than glory. The road is not only about distance, but about choice. With every mile closer to Jerusalem, the disciples are forced to face their fears. Some wonder if they have the strength to follow him to the end. Judas walks in silence, his thoughts hidden from the others, his eyes shifting between loyalty and doubt. Peter clenches his fists with a determination that burns, yet even he does not fully understand what his courage will soon be tested against. Season 6 captures this road not as a simple passage of travel, but as a journey of the heart. Every shot reminds us that the destination is not just a city, it is the stage of the greatest act of sacrifice. Jerusalem is waiting, and with it, the final days of Jesus' time among his friends. Trust is the bond that has held this small group together. They have walked through storms, hunger, and danger, yet their loyalty has never been shaken. But now, something unseen begins to creep into their circle. A shadow of doubt, a seed of betrayal, planted in silence and watered by fear. Judas smiles as he walks among the others, but his heart has already begun to wander. He listens to the words of Jesus, yet another voice whispers in his mind, one that promises wealth, power, and safety in exchange for a single act of treachery. The disciples do not see it at first. They only sense unease. Conversations feel shorter, glances turn colder. Even moments of laughter carry an undertone of tension. The harmony that once made them strong is now breaking apart, one thought at a time. Each of them struggles with their own weaknesses. Peter's anger flares more often. Thomas questions with restless doubt. And Matthew feels the weight of his past mistakes pressing against his heart. Fear spreads quietly, and the closer they draw to Jerusalem, the louder it becomes. Jesus knows what waits ahead. His words become sharper, not to wound but to prepare. He warns them that one among them will betray him, and the announcement strikes them like a storm in the night. Each disciple looks around, searching faces, wondering if it could be them. Could their own weakness betray the one they love most? The silence after his warning is heavier than any chain. Season 6 captures betrayal not as a single act, but as a slow unraveling of trust. It shows how even the closest of friends can fall when temptation whispers at the right moment. It reveals the fragility of loyalty when tested by fear of loss. And it reminds us that betrayal often hides behind the face of someone we least expect. This is not only Judas's story, it is the story of every disciple wrestling with doubt, every follower struggling with fear, and every human heart torn between loyalty and survival. The shadow of betrayal stretches long, and soon it will cover them all. Jerusalem is a city bursting with noise, but within the walls of judgment halls, the sound changes. Whispers of accusation fill the air like smoke, rising higher with every passing hour. The leaders who once watched from a distance now stand face to face with the man who has shaken their power. Jesus does not arrive with soldiers or swords, yet his presence unsettles the most powerful among them. His calm is louder than their shouts, his silence stronger than their threats. The trial is not a search for truth. It is a storm built from fear and jealousy. Witnesses are called, but their words are twisted. Questions are asked, not to discover answers, but to trap him in his own voice. Every leader in the room knows the verdict has already been chosen. But still, the charade continues. The disciples wait outside, their hearts pounding. Some want to rush in to fight for him, but fear locks their feet to the ground. Peter hides in the shadows, torn between devotion and the terror of being discovered. Each denial falls from his lips like a stone sinking into water, and with every word, his heart cracks. Inside, Jesus stands alone. Chains rest on his wrists, but no chain can touch his spirit. When asked to defend himself, he speaks only a few words, and those words strike deeper than any argument. The leaders rage. They demand answers that he will not give. His silence becomes their defeat, and their defeat turns into fury. They want blood. They want an end to the voice that has exposed their hypocrisy and challenged their control. Season 6 does not soften this moment. It shows the raw injustice, the cruelty of false judgment, and the loneliness of standing in truth while the world turns against you. It pulls us into the tension of a trial where innocence is condemned and guilt is celebrated. This is not simply a scene in history. It is the echo of every courtroom where power crushes justice, every moment where truth is silenced by fear. And yet, as the crowd outside swells with anger, and the leaders slam their verdict into stone, Jesus remains steady, not because he does not see the cross ahead, but because he knows the cross is the very reason he came. The hill is steep, and the sky grows darker though the day has barely begun. Crowds gather, some out of hatred, others out of fear, and a few out of love. The sound of footsteps and jeers mixes with the heavy crack of wood against stone. Upon his back lies the cross, rough and splintered, pressing deeper with every step. Soldiers push him forward, their cruelty unrelenting, while the disciples watch from hidden corners, broken and powerless. This is no ordinary execution. The air itself feels heavy, as if creation knows what is happening. Mothers clutch their children tighter, Strangers turn away their eyes, and those who once cheered his miracles now stand silent, unsure of what to believe. With every fall, the crowd gasps. But he rises again, carrying not just wood but the weight of every failure, every sin, every broken heart. When they reach the hill, the world holds its breath. The hammer rises, and with each strike, pain echoes through the valley. The cross is lifted, and the sky seems to mourn. He hangs between earth and heaven, rejected by men, yet embraced by the mission that brought him here. Around him, voices collide. Some mock him, demanding he prove his power by coming down. Others weep quietly, unable to understand why he will not save himself. Above it all, his eyes search the crowd, not with anger, but with compassion. Even in agony, his heart remains fixed on forgiveness. Season 6 does not turn away from the horror of this moment, but it also reveals the beauty hidden within it. The cross is not only a symbol of suffering, it is the place where love is carved into eternity. It is the meeting point of pain and hope, the clash of death and life. Every second stretches into eternity. Every breath feels like the last, and yet in his silence there is strength. In his wounds there is healing, and in his final moments there is victory disguised as defeat. The cross is the end of his walk on earth, but it is also the doorway through which the world will forever be changed. The hill is quiet now. The shouts have faded, the soldiers have left, and the crowd has scattered back to their homes. What remains is silence, heavy and unshakable, like a veil over the land. The cross still stands, a lonely figure against the sky, its shadow stretching far across the ground. For those who loved him, the silence is louder than any cry. The teacher who spoke with authority is gone. The hands that lifted the broken now hang lifeless. The eyes that once saw the worth in every soul are closed. The disciples hide in the darkness of small rooms, hearts shattered and spirits crushed. Peter weeps for the words he denied, replaying them over and over until his chest aches. John holds Mary, trying to be strong but unable to stop his own tears. Thomas stares at the ground, whispering questions that have no answer. They all wonder if it was all for nothing. The miracles, the promises, the dreams of a new kingdom, all seem to have died on that hill. Even the world feels different. The sun hides its face, the wind is colder, and the earth seems to mourn. The silence stretches into the night, and in that silence, doubt grows louder. Was he truly the Messiah? Was he only a man who spoke with passion? Fear eats at their faith. Hope feels like a distant memory. The story that began with joy in Galilee now feels broken in Jerusalem. Season 6 brings this silence to life with haunting beauty. It does not rush past the grief, but lingers in it, letting us feel the weight of despair. It shows us that the end of hope feels like an endless night, that faith can be shaken to its very core, and that even the strongest hearts can break. Yet within that silence there is a whisper too soft to hear at first, but one that will soon rise and shatter the darkness. For silence is not the final word. The stone is heavy, the tomb is sealed, and for 3 days the world believes the story has ended. Grief has wrapped itself around every heart, and fear has silenced even the bravest voices. Yet as the third day begins, the silence of death is broken by a sound no one expected. The earth trembles, the stone shifts, and the darkness that seemed eternal is shattered by light. The tomb is empty. The grave cannot hold him. Death itself has lost its power. The women arrive first, carrying sorrow and spices for a body that is no longer there. Their tears turn into gasps, their fear into wonder. A voice greets them, not with sorrow but with life. He is not here. He has risen. The news spreads like fire through the city. The disciples who once hid in despair now rise with trembling hope. At first they doubt, but then they see. They see the teacher who was dead standing before them. Scars still visible, yet eyes burning with life. Joy returns, but it is a joy unlike anything they have ever known. It is the joy of victory. Season 6 does not leave the story in darkness. It shows that the cross was not the end, but the doorway to resurrection. The pain was real. The silence was crushing, but both were necessary to reveal a hope greater than fear, a love stronger than death. The risen Jesus walks among his friends once more, reminding them that the mission is not finished, but just beginning. What seemed like defeat is revealed as the greatest triumph in history. The season closes with the message that this story is not only about the past, it is about us. Every moment of despair can lead to new hope. Every silence can be broken by the voice of life. Every ending can become a beginning. The Chosen Season 6 captures this truth with breathtaking power, leaving us not with sorrow, but with the unshakable promise that love will always rise again.